Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. We are continuing with our coverage of the air combat in the 1956 Suez crisis. Last time you could see how Egyptian fighters shot down an Israeli liaison aircraft and performed several successful airstrikes against Israeli paratroopers, but in the end also lost the MiG-15 to Israeli mistakes over Kabrit Air Base on day 2 of the conflict, October 30th, 1956. In the evening, Britain and France issued ultimatum to both Egypt and Israel to retreat at least 10 miles from each side of the Suez Canal. This was of course perfectly acceptable to Israel, but completely unacceptable to Egypt. The Egyptians suddenly became aware of the seriousness of their situation. Britain and France were about to attack them as well. There was now a disagreement between President Nasser and Abdel Hakim Amr, the Minister of War. Amr wanted to fight all three invaders, while Nasser wanted to withdraw his ground forces from Sinai and defend the canal zone. Regarding the Egyptian Air Force, Nasser wanted to avoid fighting Britain and France and focus on the Israelis. President's opinion eventually prevailed. Dispersal of MiG fighters was ordered, while 20 of them were pulled back to Nile Delta zone. Il-28 bombers, which had no Egyptian crews to fly them, were ferried by Soviet and Czechoslovakian advisors to Saudi Arabia and Syria. But some of the Ilyushin bombers were sent to bomb Israel in the evening. Their targets were 3 Israeli air bases, Hatzor, Tel Nof and Ramat David. 2 bombers were assigned to each of the 3 airfields. The Egyptian crews reported causing large fires at their targets. Israeli reports, on the other hand, say that bombs were released, but they were ineffective. 1 aircraft was reported over Tel Aviv at 9:50 p.m., but dropped its bombs in the sea. Another tried to bomb a train, but also missed. Israeli mosquitoes flew their first sorties that same evening. They were supposed to bomb Egyptian forces along the route from Port Tawfik to Mitla. Being unable to find it in the dark, they flew north and bombed some vehicles which traveled with their lights on. The Anglo-French ultimatum expired at 6 a.m., October 31st. Egyptian fighter pilots sat in their cockpits expecting British and French bombers. But radars only detected 11 recon aircraft, British Canberras and French RF-84Fs. Egyptian interceptors were not as successful as the day before, but 2 MiG-15s still caught a French Thunderflash. The French recon pilot didn't notice the MiGs until he saw tracers passing his cockpit. He immediately aborted the mission and returned to Cyprus. Other recon sorties successfully gathered intelligence on the number of Egyptian aircraft in various air bases. It was much higher than expected, and Anglo-French commanders postponed their airstrikes until evening. This delay enabled evacuation of Soviet and Czechoslovakian personnel and effective dispersal of aircraft. But during the night, Egyptians received reports that the advancing Israeli 202 battalion was able to link up with the 890th battalion, which had been airdropped in Mitla area. Egyptian Air Force then went for an all-out effort against the Israeli paratroopers. But in an attempt to strike before any Israeli combat air patrols arrived to the area, a mission was rushed without proper coordination. 40th Fighter Training Unit from Faid Air Base assigned 4 Vampires to attack the Israeli positions in Mitla with rockets and guns. The flight was led by Squadron Leader Hilmi, while other positions were taken by Pilot Officer Mahmoud Wael Afifi, Flight Officer Ahmad Fargal, and Pilot Officer Gaber Ali Gaber. They were supposed to be covered by MiG-15s from Kabrit, but none showed up. Despite the morning mist, 4 Vampires were able to locate Israeli positions and they each made a single pass. Two Israeli Mysteers from 101 Squadron, tasked with combat air patrol over Mitla area, took off at 5:30 a.m. Shai Egozi and Aharon Shavit arrived over Israeli ground unit positions at 25,000 feet. They were about to return to base when they received reports of 4 Egyptian vampires in the area. The two Myster pilots dropped down to 10,000 feet and spotted the enemy. As Egozi and Shavit were diving to attack them, the vampire pilots made a 90-degree turn, which placed the attackers in a more favorable position. Egozi opened fire first. He hit one of the aircraft, which crashed. The remaining one turned right. The other pair of vampires turned left, and they were attacked by the Israeli wingman, Aharon Shavit. He shot both of them down in a single pass. Israeli pilots reported that the Egyptian vampires still had their external stores on during the engagement. The only Egyptian survivor, Gabr Ali Gabr, gives a detailed account from his point of view. He didn't see the Mysters before they made their attacks. The first sign of trouble was seeing other vampires on fire. Gabr then went for a horizontal evasion, since the vampire was superior to Myster in that aspect. He then noticed the Myster in front of him and opened fire. But the Myster dove and disappeared. Examination of Gabr's gun camera footage revealed that his hits undershot and probably didn't cause any damage. Gabr could then see 2 vampires spinning on fire with no parachutes in sight. The third vampire was also on fire but flying west. As Gabr approached, he realized that pilot officer Afifi was probably dead or seriously wounded. Fearing that Afifi's vampire might explode, Gabr moved away. The burning vampire eventually crashed with its pilot in the cockpit. Gabr Ali Gabr was diverted to Kabrit Air Base because of the mist. MiG-15s from Kabrit were supposed to provide them with fighter escort, and the furious vampire pilot went straight to base commander, demanding to know why no MiGs were there to protect them. The base commander simply shrugged his shoulders. The official explanation, which came later, was due to mist. Poor coordination, however, didn't stop the vampire mission, which resulted in a tragedy for the Egyptians. 3 airplanes were lost, and one source suggests that one of the vampire pilots, Flying Officer Ahmad Fargal, successfully bailed out, while 2 others died. There was more air combat on 31st of October 1956. 2 Israeli meteors from No. 117 Squadron, led by Ben Aaron, were sent to strafe enemy vehicles over Jabal Libni in North Sinai. But they encountered 4 Egyptian MiGs, and a dogfight developed. Egyptian Air Force historian Ali Mohammed Labib wrote that 4 Egyptian MiG-17s from Al-Maza set a trap for Israeli Mysters, and as a result, high losses were inflicted upon them, despite the fact that MiG-17 pilots had only been flying the jets for a short time. Apart from being wrong about the Israeli aircraft types, those were meteors and not Mysters, Labib is also wrong about the outcome, as the 5-minute combat was inconclusive. No losses were suffered by either side. Although it was still early morning of 31st October, there was still plenty of action left to describe on that day, including a combat between Mystères and MiG-15s. We will talk about that in our next episode, and until then, feel free to check some of the older videos on the channel. YouTube algorithm doesn't give a chance to some videos for whatever reason, and if you only watch the suggested ones, you might miss some which are just as good if not better. The videos are organized into playlists by conflict, so you can easily find those you might be interested in. Thank you for your time and keep watching Showtime 112.